Charlie.
And I am Todd.
And this is episode
5?
Five.
Oh my
Five
God.
of Tell Me About It.
This is the show of the husband and husband team of me, Todd, and my other half, Charlie. And we sit down with people that pique our interest and ask them to tell me about it.
All about the things.
Sound like underdog.
What's that?
Oh my God. If y'all didn't know, Charlie is 7 years younger than I am. And I'm the old fart. So it's always it's always funny to see the cartoons that he watched versus what I watched. And obviously, I didn't watch Underdog that much, but it was an old, fudge. It was a 90s cartoon, and it was this underdog, and he had a dog with a cape.
I was in like the SpongeBob, That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, iCarly, the prime of cartoons.
And I was in with Gummy Bears bouncing here and there.
That?
Oh my God, it was the best thing. My sister and I watched. It was literally about these bears they could bounce when they drank their special potion.
Teletubbies?
No, it was Gummy Bears. And then David the Gnome, and then Eureka's Castle, and Cat Dog. I mean, those,
I know Cat Dog. Yeah.
those were the jams back then. So yeah, so yes, that's who Underdog is, and there was always a sound like this when he would. So anyways,
All right. Well, today we got a treat for y'all because it's a treat for us 3 times a day. What is it, Todd?
Oh God, I was like, what? It is about a coffee house here. A local business, and it's called Mazama Coffee.
Mazama Coffee.
Yeah, and as Charlie said, we drink a lot of coffee, and I was looking at the budget, and yeah, it's a little expensive, especially now with the economy. That $5 cup of coffee now costs about $7.
Oh,
so
God.
we are pulling that down. But that's why we can go to Mazama.
Mazama. And we talked to Vicky to educate us all about coffee roasting, and just kind of make us a coffee connoisseurs.
Yeah, and I asked
or what did she call it? I already forgot.
Oh, a coffee a Q grater.
Q, yeah, because I instantly thought of pool, like the game pool.
Oh, yeah.
Billiards.
So you'll learn that term means. But yeah, we also, I think it's really interesting. You're going to hear from her about how she started the business, like why she did it.
Yeah.
But then we talk a little bit about the strain on, her and her husband's relationship for a bit. And then also just the stress of being a business owner and keeping things afloat. Because she started the business right at the Great Recession, and then
just went like all in.
Yeah, and even through COVID-19, she kept the doors open thanks to the community. So, yeah, so it's a really cool interview. She's very funny. She's great. She's a straight talking woman. Yeah. So it's happiness.
First, Todd, I have a question for you.
Yes, Charlie. What are we talking about now?
I've been thinking of this new segment that I would like to do just to kind of get some interest. Like, I don't even know. Like,
have a bit of fun.
Yeah, have a bit of fun.
Add a little
learn
oomph.
a little more about your host. So, Todd, I have a 3-parter for you.
Okay.
And it's your new segment of what you're watching, what you're doing, what's good.
Press the button.
Oh.
Yes. Woo! Thank you, studio audience.
All right. So, what are you streaming?
What am I streaming?
What you're watching, what you're doing, and what's good.
So what I am streaming, Charlie, is I just finished. This is my favorite show of all time, besides Boy Meets World. But Will and Grace. I was watching Will and Grace, the new seasons 9 through 11 on Prime Video.
Those were the new seasons that we were watching?
Yes.
Oh,
they were the new seasons. Love that show. So I've been streaming that a little bit, and I'm also really into. I don't think you're gonna like the show, but it's called The Boys on Amazon Prime. It's about when superheroes go bad. Such a good show. Very gory though. Definitely not a kid show, folks. So don't put your kids up there.
Not for boys.
So yeah, that's what I'm streaming. What I'm watching. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think I'm watching many TV shows like on the actual TV. Although I'm getting a lot of Dr. Phil, maybe.
Yeah, Mama June.
Oh,
Mama June.
Train wreck of Mama June. Yeah. I feel bad for Pumpkin and Honey Boo Boo.
Then Pumpkin, you're not listening to this, but girl, you are killing it.
Yeah. I mean, she's the oldest?
Middle.
Middle-ish. No, because Jess is the oldest.
Anna, Pumpkin, Jessica, Alana.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, look, it's a little scripted of a series, we have to admit.
But it's quality.
Yeah.
You ain't going to get much better than that.
But it's just a fun show. We have Pumpkin for listening, girl. We got you. You killing it. You taking care of your family and more.
Yeah.
And then June, step up. Girl.
Do things, just not bad things.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I think streaming. Yeah. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
So Charlie, reverse Uno card. Reverse back to you. What are you streaming? What are you watching? What are you doing? What you up to?
So Todd turned me on to. I avoided the Stranger Things, like I don't even know what to call it. Craze.
Yeah.
I avoided it at all costs because I was just like, I hate sci-fi, so I'm not gonna like this. I love it.
Yeah.
I watched all 3 seasons within a week, and then I watched season 4. We just watched the last 2 episodes, which are crazy.
Yeah.
And I rewatched the last season again because now I'm on board. I get it. I get it.
It started like, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, and now you're getting on board with it.
Now I'm like, oh my God, I get it.
You should listen to me more often.
Yeah. There was another show that we watched that I was like trying to avoid, and I watched with you. Inventing Anna. That was one of them.
Oh, yes. That was such a good one.
The Dropout.
Yeah, about Theranos.
Yeah.
The Theranos Finder.
What do I always do?
I'm Elizabeth Holmes.
And that's why we've created Theranos.
He thinks it's really good,
It's
folks,
really good.
Please tell him his accent is horrible.
But we won't hold you back any longer.
Yes.
Because as you can tell, we're probably hyped up on caffeine. So let's have a little chat about caffeine.
Yeah, guys. So get a cuppa, get some coffee, and listen to
Vicky from Mazama Coffee. Enjoy.
Guys, we're going to have somebody tell us about something today. Charlie.
Something we are both very, very, very interested in. Very financially invested in.
Not really. It's financial spending, maybe.
Yes.
But not.
But we are here with Vicky, who is the owner of Mazama Coffee in Dripping Springs, Texas. And we just want to know everything about...
Yeah. Because we go to another coffee chain, which is probably a no-no, when I can see in your head nodding saying you should
The unmentionables.
Yeah, the unmentionables down the street. So we spend a lot of money. And so we're always interested in, understanding how it works, how you get the beans, where you get the beans, what you do with the beans, all that stuff about beans.
But let's start with what got you into, like, where did Mazama come from?
Yeah, where'd that start?
So Mazama is a place in Washington State. It's on the eastern side, on the Cascade Range. There's a little town called Mazama, Washington, and our family had a cabin there.
Oh.
I worked at Microsoft for 15 years, and my husband was basically trying anything he could to get me not to quit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was so tired of the Seattle rain, gloom, overcast.
Is it like a granola feel? Like everybody says like granola up
it's
there.
It's pretty granola. Oh. Yeah, it's pretty granola, which I don't mind that. It's more just, it's just not seeing the sun for weeks and weeks and weeks really started to get to me. And probably in my, I don't know, like maybe my 12th year or so, I was so tired. And I finally went to a doctor and I said, do all the things. I want to know what's wrong with me. And nothing was wrong with me. And she said, I think you have the seasonal affective disorder, whatever, not getting enough sun.
Yeah.
And so she put me on some antidepressants. And I'm not a person who does medications or anything. I have, like, the last time I was at the doctor, honestly, was probably 12 years ago. So she put me on some antidepressants and I'm like, cool, this is awesome. I feel great.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling pretty good. And then I started thinking, like, okay, something's wrong if I have to be on antidepressants to live in this state.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And so after, I don't know, like 6 months, I just cold turkey went, I'm not going to do those drugs anymore. So let me just first say, don't ever go off antidepressants cold turkey.
Don't worry. We are big fans of antidepressants. So, but yeah, no, I've heard it's
gosh.
like It's almost like withdrawal from a drug.
I feel like I didn't even know who I was. I was a crazy person. My husband was just like, who are you?
Yeah, you had a taper, man.
Oh my gosh. I was a maniac, and I was angry and mad and flew off the handle and everything. But anyway, I said, enough. I'm not living here anymore. I'm moving. You can come with me or you can stay here. I don't even care. I'm getting out of here. And so we moved to Texas. Oh, let me go back to the reason we got Mazama.
Yeah.
Was because he was trying to keep me happy.
So is this like your kind of meeting halfway that we'll name the business after the place that you want me to stay, and I'll stay here?
And I love Mazama. The problem is that my husband and the kids would go to Mazama and enjoy Mazama, and I would be stuck working. And occasionally I would get to go over for maybe like a 3-day weekend or something. And so I was just like, this isn't doing it for me. This still doesn't make it good enough. But we do have really, really good memories of Mazama. And so when we tried to come up with the name for the place, we went through a ton of different names, and kind of the whole family agreed. Mazama is this place where we did come together as a family. We went cross-country skiing. We went on the river. We just have really great memories of, like no TV, no cell phones, no social. And so it was just that sense of kind of connection and family connection, and like one of the best places in our memories. And so that's what we wanted to bring here. And so that's why it's called Mazama.
I was thinking there was some deeper, some Aboriginal Aztec kind of feel like that's where we get the coffee beans from. And
I thought it was
so much better now. It's a city we love.
Yeah.
It's a city we love. However, there is a connection because Mazama, if you go to Mazama, Washington, there's Goats Peak, there's Goats River, there's goat. And so Mazama means mountain goat.
Okay, so that helps because in the store, peeps, there is a goat, like a stuffed animal goat I saw up there, and on your website you have.
Yeah, it's all about the goat. Okay. And so the goat, Mazama is, people kind of dispute kind of what language it is, Pacific Northwest, Indian, or Native American, or that's what we think it is. But Mazama in that native language means mountain goat. And there are mountain goats in Mazama, and they have a lot of things. Goats Peak is in Mazama. And then Kaldi, the person in Ethiopia who was, legend is that he discovered coffee is a goat herder.
Oh,
so there is a tie-in to that.
Okay, that's not as stupid as I thought.
That's a really deep connection.
Yes.
Like everything kind of.
Yeah, it all kind of ties together.
Yeah.
But when somebody says, "Where'd you get the name Mazama?" We're just like,
yeah. You just need to have a coaster with the story on it. So just say, "Here."
It would be a big coaster, like a pizza plate, right?
Hometown means goat.
Yeah.
That's where we lived. That's nice. So okay, so you said to yourself, "Okay, I'm going to come down. We're going to Texas." Did you know at that point you were going to make a business when you came down here? Or did you just say, I'm going to go and we'll figure it out once we get there?
I'm going to go. We're going to figure it out. We made a ton of money when we sold our house.
Nice.
And then when that money and I don't know what I was thinking, but I just knew I needed to get out. And so the money, we started to kind of roll through that money. And it wasn't in the millions. It was more in the under 100,000, but enough to to live on.
Do something, yeah.
And when that started to kind of run out, I thought, I need to get a job. I have to get another job. So I actually went to AMD.
Oh, you did?
So I was working at Advanced Micro Devices. Honestly, I do not remember how long I was there. I was there at least 5 years.
Well, that's a pretty long stay for a tech company.
I would say 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I was at AMD. Went through all of the depression happened. Wasn't that the Great Depression?
The recession.
The recession, sorry.
Yeah.
Not the depression.
I was like, you got depression again? That's not a good sign.
I did not. I didn't get depression. Depression was gone.
Maybe it wasn't the state.
Yeah.
There was sun. It was. No, we went through the Great Recession, right? Yeah, and there were the rolling layoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was super unhappy, and I kept saying pick me. And I would joke about it with my boss, I'll go next. And he says, your name never comes up. You're a workhorse. And I was like, that's kind of insulting.
Yeah. I'll just stop working and then.
But I'm not. I just can't. I'm not that person, right?
Yeah.
And I thought workhorse. Okay, that's a good thing. I just keep my head, work. And then I thought, I don't know if that's such a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never got laid off. And so I just kept like taking on other people's work. And when I realized kind of we were starting to, I think we kind of bottomed out. The recession was kind of, you could kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel, but it was still kind of bleak. And I said, okay, I'm done. And my husband was like, oh my God. He's a stay-at-home dad, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
So 2 parents at home, that could be his.
Yeah. Well, with no income, right?
Oh, gotcha. Even
yeah.
worse. Oof.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to do something because I'm tired of driving into work, just feeling this heaviness all the time. And my mom was in real estate for, 3 or 4 decades. So I have a lot of like entrepreneurial, my dad's an engineer. But there was a little bit of like, I'm tired of working for people who like, I don't necessarily, especially at AMD, right?
Yeah. For those who don't know, AMD is a very big tech company and there's a lot of layers of leadership or levels, so we'll leave it at that. It's a great company though, but it's a little cumbersome for
when
those.
I was there, it was very poorly managed. I will go as far to say that it was.
I'm glad you said
I don't know if it still is, but it definitely was when I was there. And it was when I came from Microsoft, which was very well managed, to a company where there were just things I'm like, you guys don't know how to, you don't do that? I don't get it. Yeah. I was pretty frustrated. And by the end of it, like my boss, who was a VP, he would go to meetings and he stopped taking me to meetings because I got to the point where I would say whatever I felt like. Oh, gosh. Because I was just like end of rope. Like I've had it with you guys.
Yeah.
I love my boss though. He's great. He was one of the best managers I've ever had, ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was getting ready, just like, I'm done. And now I'm not just done, I'm done with corporate. I'm going to start my own business. And then it was really like, what do I want to do? I could do web design. I could do da-da-da-da-da. I mean, like, what do you do? Like a project manager, like, what do you do if you're not in corporate America? And then we were living in Dripping Springs, and getting a good coffee was a chore, almost impossible. Like you had to go into Austin. Actually, it was impossible. Yeah. And then I was meeting with somebody, the woman who started Wash Day Laundry. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was meeting with her. We're friends, and I had done their websites for them when they first started out. And I said, "Oh, we'll go meet at Time and Dough." So we go to Time and Dough, and it's closed. Because it was like a Monday or something. One of those days when they just weren't open. Yeah. And then we went to the wine bar down here that is now defunct. It's not here anymore. Okay. And they closed at 3 or something. And we wanted to meet at like 4. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And I said, you know what this community needs? It needs a place where you can just get together and meet with people. And
so at that time, the big chains weren't here.
No, nothing was here.
Dripping was small a while back. Like,
there was.
H-E-B
it was
wasn't?
no H-E-B wasn't here. We had Super S.
It's in Johnson City.
Yeah, I'm from Johnson City.
Yeah.
So you had no background in coffee. Specifically.
None, except that we came from the Pacific Northwest and we drank a lot of it. That was my background.
So then, how did you? So you found a need, found a problem, you overcome it. So what made you say, I'm going to do coffee? And then it's always surprising to me, like when COVID hit, that's when I went on my own for my own marketing firm and stuff. But I know that area, and you took a leap and you didn't know really anything like deep technical about coffee.
Right.
So what was that kind of thought process of like, I don't know shit here, but I'm going to do it? Like what?
Well, when I go back to the comment where I said, what do you do with project management? Yeah. You can do anything with project management. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And process improvement. Like my focus was process improvement. And systems and documentation so I don't know if I knew it going in, like consciously, but I think made the business successful. Because you go into a lot of coffee shops and they're just kind of like running by the seat of their pants. But I'm just kind of as a project manager, you look to the future, you look to where you want to get the end result, and you're like, okay, let me just step back. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And then Google, right? You just Google. And I found Texas Coffee School.
Oh, so you went to school?
Like a school.
I did. It was a 3-day school, and I got out of that. And it was a Texas Coffee School for business owners, who like people who wanted to actually, it wasn't just like barista, go learn how to be a barista, right? Which that would not have, it would have been good, but wasn't enough. Yeah. So I went to Texas Coffee School. I think he was probably only maybe a year or two out. The guy has never run his own coffee shop.
Oh, and he's teaching you how to run one? Nice.
But he's helped. He was a barista. He was kind of a manager at a coffee shop, and for whatever, he was able to give me enough information
to get there. And
he's, I think his business is much bigger than it was when I started. Like, I think he has a staff and employees or things like that. But he goes through like pricing, because he had to do that in his role. So pricing, marketing, employment. When it got to where like leasing, it was like, and then you like make sure you have enough parking. So it wasn't very thorough in some areas, but at least I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Things. So it was, thankfully, it was pretty in depth, and it went all the way from like what drinks, what sizes, and he was very what do I want to say? Like concise and direct about like, you must do this and you must do this and you must do this. It wasn't like, and then you can kind of think about this. He was just very much like, do this, do this, do this. This is what works. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody to just give me the blueprint kind of. Yeah. And then realize as you go through, like, okay, he's not the end all for, how it should be run. He had very clear, opinions.
Right. There you go. Yes. So does he teach you about like the bean and all that stuff? Or is that any part of like your research or development for the business to get really in depth in that? Or did you find somebody smarter than you to do that? Or are you still just trying to figure it out as you go?
For roasting?
Or even like finding like, where do you get the coffee bean from? And then where like you roast it?
No, he didn't go into that at all. Yeah. In fact, his was really like, find a local roaster and just kind of get their input on what beans you should have, and just, find a good quality roaster. That was the extent of it for the school. Yeah. And no roasting at all. So a lot of the stuff I'm just kind of, like my husband will say, like, you're like the third degree. Like, you give everybody the third degree. I'm like, I want to know. It's like, I will ask every single question. Yeah. I have no problem saying, I don't know. Teach me. And so I think we've just kind of like learned as we go. And so when we started getting into roasting, we'd been open 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And the business was not as easy as I thought. Like, I came back from Texas Coffee School and I was like, we're going to make a killing. This is going to be so easy. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So what was the big like, oh shit moment where you're like, this is not what I hoped it was going to be?
I would say within like the first month, there was many things in terms of, the volume of people coming through. Was low.
It was low
because the street, we were coming out of the Great Recession. We like all the shops that there was nothing here, and then the ones that were here, like the wine bar, there was like a little taco shop and something else. They all closed. Yeah. Like, so it was basically like me, the barber shop was open, the bar, and Rippy's feed store, and so there was no reason for anybody to come down here. I mean, that was it. Yeah. That was it. There was nothing. And
did you ever think that you would have to shut down at that point? Like a month in and you don't get any of the traffic that you're hoping for? And
we have no income because
that's right.
We have income.
When you start a business, you get a bank loan from the bank and you're just saying, or is it all like personal?
That's a whole different thing. Okay. But yes, it was all personal.
Oh, so it's no everything.
Debt. It was our entire life savings on the line.
And you had how many kids that were?
2 kids in elementary school. Maybe one was in middle school.
You had a mortgage and you had a loan to pay. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. I'm already sweating right now.
Yeah.
Thinking, couldn't do it.
I lost 25 pounds from like getting ready to open, and the first like 2 months, 25. I just went, boom. I lost I wasn't eating. I was waking up in the middle of the night. I wasn't sleeping. And I just kept telling myself like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Okay, we have to move into an apartment and I just go back to work. That's it, right? And we start over. That's the worst. Nobody's going to die. That was like a terrible thing, but I mean,
that's true. I mean, yeah,
that's the worst. And at least I, would have tried.
So when did you finally see the corner being turned? Because, I mean, you obviously have gone through the Great Recession and this, pandemic. So when did you finally say like, all right, we finally got something, we're making headway and we're getting profitable,
That's what got us into roasting. So we're 2.5 years in and we're barely scraping by, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. We're keeping payroll going and we're working our asses off because we can't afford much staff. So I'm working 7 days a week. My husband's working 7 days a week. We pull my daughter in, we're paying her, but she's a high school student at this point and she's working for us. And literally to the point where I was so exhausted that I would say things like, do you need to go to first period? Yes. like is school really all that important?
Yeah. Do you really need that GED?
Mommy needs you.
Wow.
Yeah. And my she's like a mini me. And so she's got this great sense of like personal responsibility for things. But she made it through high school and college. But I would say like 2.5 years, we were just scraping by. We were working. We never took any days off. We never had vacation. It was the worst 2.5 years of my life. I regretted every minute of it. I regretted, yes. People would say like, oh, don't you love it here? I'm like, I do. I love it so much. And my boss would come in and he'd be like, oh, you're doing great, blah, whatever. And probably like 3 or 4 years after we opened, my boss that I loved at AMD came in and he's like, I kept your cubicle open. He had your name on it for 2 years. You could have come back anytime. And I said, well, it's a good thing you never said that because I would have been in the chair probably by the end of the week. I was so miserable. Yeah.
So what made you stick it out then? Why didn't you just go back to a job?
I don't know. I think I'm one of those people that just never says die.
Yeah.
And you have so much kind of invested in it.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking like, okay, we're still scraping by. And then I started thinking about, okay, how can we make a profit here? And I thought, okay, we're spending so much money on the beans. That's our number one cost.
Oh, wow.
Let's start roasting. So we got a loan, our very first loan for the roaster, and bought a roaster. I sent my husband to roasting school.
Where was that at?
He went to San Francisco.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's like a guy who's like the
guru.
This guru of roasting. And he went and roasted with him in a small class of like 5 or 6 students. And they roasted for a week. And I'm like, cool, get on back here. We're all roasted.
Yeah.
And then importing the beans.
So
how does that work?
So interestingly enough, there's a really great coffee importer in Dripping Springs.
Really?
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And they're up off Hamilton Pool. And so we went to them and same thing. Like I walk in, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What do we do? And he's like, we're going to cup some beans. We're going to cup them and we're going to put together
What does cup them mean?
Cupping is where you they roast the beans. Like they'll do a sample roasting of the different beans and then they'll grind them And then you pour the hot water directly into the grinds. There's no filter or anything. And you let them sit for, I don't know how long. It's been a while since we've done a cupping, or I've done a cupping or been involved in it. And maybe 4 minutes. There's a certain temperature, there's a certain time, and then you break the crust of the coffee grounds with the back of a spoon, and then you take 2 spoons and you scoop them out. It's very shishi. It's very kind of like, I would say it's even beyond wine tasting because of the process involved with the pouring the hot water and the breaking of the crust and the stir and the da-da-da-da-da. And then you slurp just like wine. So you're aspirating, you're getting it all over. And then you're taking all sorts of notes about the chocolate notes and the berry flavor and da-da-da-da-da. And the first couple times I'm like, they all taste the same to
I was
me.
just going to say, so were you like, what the hell are we doing here? I don't taste the difference.
I totally felt like imposter syndrome. It was terrible. And my husband would be like, oh, I taste the orange. And I'm like, bullshit, you do not.
So is this like to pick a bean that y'all were going to pick to
so
roast?
we picked like 3 beans. Yes. We picked like 3 beans from different countries. We had to put an espresso blend together, which my husband, over time, we kind of created this espresso blend that works really well with milk, and it's a good standalone. But I'm to the point now, honest to God, my staff will like give me a cup of coffee and they're like, what is it? Where's it from or whatever? And I'll be like, I think it's Guatemala. And they'll be like, yeah, you got it.
So you're like a coffee sommelier.
Yeah. And there are, what it's called in coffee is a Q grater.
A Q grater?
Mm-hmm. A Q grater. And my husband, I sent him to school to become a Q grater.
Where was that school?
I'm very into education.
I was going to say. Honey, you're getting on a plane. You're going to go to Q school.
You're going to Q school now. Yeah. So he went to get trained to become a Q grater. And they're basically like pros at coffee cupping and figuring out if there's a deficiency or a defect in the bean before you bring the beans in and buy them and all that kind of stuff. Oh, wow. So that's the Q grater. Those are the kind of things where I love education. So I would have loved to have gone to the roasting.
Why didn't you go?
Because I'm running the freaking business.
Can't your husband do it? Like, couldn't you be like, hey, no?
Pull your daughter out of first period. Like, run it for a little bit.
We're like 2 different people.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm a list maker. I'm like accountant, bookkeeper, da-da-da-da. Everything's like chugging along, operations checklist, laminate that, follow it. Yeah. And he's like, hey, folks, let me see if there's anything I need to do. No.
So was that, I mean, speaking of, you guys have been married for.
That was definitely.
Was that a moment in the marriage where it was like, we're going to hold on real tight because this shit's getting real hard. Yeah.
There was definitely I don't know if we're going to make it.
Really?
Because of the stress of the business. Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. Because I felt, and I don't keep anything in, right? So I felt I'm working 200% here and you're like, I feel like you're at like 20 right now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and then there were like lots of big fights. Like, you don't see what I do. Well, you don't see what I do. And definitely, I'm not saying that I did work 200% and he worked 20%.
Oh yeah. It's just the different view.
My I was so into my own struggle and fears and all of that I took it out on him very much.
I will say that's kind of how you had to wake me up to that though, because I was working when I first started my business
a lot.
Because he pushed me. He's like, you should do this. Like, go ahead and do it. And I was working like 100 hours a week. And I remember he said kind of similar. He was like, you're getting really nasty. You're angry. You're not getting sleep. And I am not feeling loved here. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. So I didn't obviously.
When did we get these eggshells installed?
But, I mean, that, not to say mine is like yours, but that is just really interesting to hear that. And so you guys stuck it out though. And, you know, so when you make the business, how much longer do you think, like, what's the next step then? Because you have a roaster, you chose the beans, and so you went to make your own roasts now.
Well, I don't know. You do like the roasting and then you think, gosh, what should we do next? I don't know. Let's have a pandemic.
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
So you started the roastery
No. So the roastery started, and we're probably 3 years into roasting, and things were finally like, oh my gosh, we made a profit.
Oh, okay. So how long was the store open then? Before
when we got the roaster?
Yeah.
We started roasting probably in our 3rd or 4th year.
Okay.
And then, you're like year 6 maybe, and you're like, okay, we can hire more people. We can start doing a few wholesale accounts. We can, I don't know. We just started we opened up Calterra. We had a little kind of sub coffee shop in Calterra subdivision, which
didn't work.
Didn't work out. There just wasn't there was not enough traffic down there. It was like tucked away.
Yeah.
And it was funny too, because when they came to ask us, I'm like, no. And they were like, well, we're going to make sure you don't lose money. So we're going to subsidize it to make sure you guys, you don't lose money. And I'm like, well, then how can I say no to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have said no to that, because it wasn't worth it. Like, we probably made literally $1,000 a month profit on that place. And it doesn't even account for the labor involved, labor involved in managing it. Yeah. So I think we were there for maybe 3 years, and I was just like, guys, I'm sorry.
Can't do it.
We got to pull out. This just isn't feasible.
So go ahead.
Yo, go ahead.
Oh, so
I lost my question.
So
sorry.
So, one of the things that, obviously you can tell this is a local business. It feels like a homey, it kind of, especially when you walk in the door, there is a sign that says no cell phones allowed. Mm-hmm. Reminds me of, do you ever watch Gilmore Girls? Mm-hmm. Okay. Reminds me of Luke's Diner.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't allow cell phones. So I was like, oh my God, there's a restaurant or a coffee that actually does that. So why do you do that? And why, if you do, like, what was the purpose behind that?
Because personally, I cannot stand it. Like, I hate, there's things I hate. I hate people who are in restaurants and coffee shops on their cell phone loud. Uh-huh. I hate people who whistle. I can't stand people who whistle. Honey. Oh my God. Just like randomly. Yeah. Uh-huh. Like, nope. Literally, like, or to a song even. So if we have a really good song on, and like, if somebody will be whistling, if I'm out there, I'll change the song.
Oh my God.
I think I have a thing. I think somebody at some point, I was listening to something, and there was like some, not disease, but
sensitivity?
Yes. Yeah. I think I have a sensitivity to like certain things. Uh-huh. And it's like, guess what? I'm in charge.
It's like this is my kingdom. You get to do what I say.
Yeah. And so I tend to kind of, if I'm not around, these guys are nowhere near. Like, they'll just kind of let it go and not even realize it. And honestly, like I said, if somebody, I'd mentioned earlier before we started, that if somebody's on their phone and they're talking like it's a normal conversation, fine. If they're sitting there like yelling in their phone and nonstop talking, I will definitely go over there.
Like pushback from customers? Like, I'm never coming back here.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, cool.
Still my
better
kingdom.
For me.
Still my business.
Like, yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So kind of back to the roasting. When y'all started roasting, was that a big kind of take off of your cost?
Yes.
From buying beans from other people? Like, was it cheaper to roast your own beans?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Because we were going to Cuvée, who's an awesome roaster. We love Mike McKim. He's amazing. They were really good helping us kind of get started. And same thing, like, like understanding the beans. And lots of questions when we first started. Yeah. And we left on really good terms. Like, I told him we're probably going to start roasting. And he was like, sounds great. Good for you. Nicest guy. But yeah, if you make the initial investment in the roaster, which is, I think it was at the time $19,000, so it's not a cheap piece of equipment.
Wow.
Yeah. But you make that initial investment, and then the beans, our cost of beans was probably cut in half.
I was going to say, so you probably made it up, like paying for itself almost.
Yeah.
That roaster. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I don't remember what the ROI on it was, but it was pretty quick.
And there's definitely like is it kind of customizable to like customizing the roasting of the beans?
Yeah. So we have like roast profiles for different beans, like how long we roast them. We might, like we'll take some of them a little darker because that sort of bean will stand up to that. And it actually tastes better a little bit darker. And then we'll take some a little, like Ethiopians, we tend to take a little lighter because they tend to be a little bit fruitier. Because coffee is a fruit. It's a berry. It's a coffee berry. And so the Ethiopian tends to be floral and berry. And so if you take it beyond medium or into the dark, you just lose all of that. And so you lose some of that complexity. And then, so we have roast profiles for the different coffees that we have. And if we bring a new one in that we're not familiar with, we'll definitely do a couple of different roasts on it. And then we'll cup them and see whichever roast profile brings out the most flavor in that bean. That's what the one we'll stick with.
How long does it take you to make a roast profile?
Like a day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So literally, like, we'll bring a new bean in and we'll roast it up a couple, like maybe 3-4 different ways. And then, so maybe more, because then it needs to degas. So we'll let it degas.
Degas?
So
like
that's why if you look at your coffee bean bag, it'll have a degassing valve on it because it's degassing.
The little circle?
I always thought
I thought that was like a hookup to a machine.
No.
I thought it was to take all the air out. Like you could press the air out and make it last longer.
No, it's a degassing valve.
I really thought like in the back of your espresso machine, there's a tube that you shove that thing in. That's how you get it.
I'm so happy to be so informative today with you.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's a degassing valve. Coffee should degas like minimum, I would say like 3 days. So we'd let it degas a couple days, 2-3 days, and then we do the cupping and then we pick one. And we like to do it. It's really amazing and kind of like a psychology aspect. We always do it blind. So we never say like, this one's the one that, roasted for this long and this long and this long.
Yep.
We always hide that information because your brain just makes shit up.
Yeah.
And so we always test blind, and then we'll just cup them and, like basic, usually. And we also keep it secret because as soon as you go like, that one's my favorite, then other people are like, I kind of like that one too. Yeah. So we do that as well, blind. And then once everybody's written everything down, then we talk about it and we pick the one that we
like. Wow.
That we like. So, I guess it's like it's a 3 to 5 day process.
Yeah.
But that's part of that time is just waiting for the coffee to degas.
So did the beans come like as a berry, or are they already like?
No, they're already washed.
Are they dehydrated or anything, or how does that work?
Is it like a cherry outside? Or what?
It is like a cherry outside.
Because they start green, right? Don't they?
They start the berry is red, and then when it goes to the mill, they remove the mucilage,
like a cherry.
The cherry, they remove all of that, and then they wash it, dry it. And then so you basically, like if you had a cherry pit, that's how you get them.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. They do go through some like drying process, so they do dry them out, but I wouldn't say they dehydrate them, but they do dry them. And there's all sorts of different, like this is one of the things I would have prepped on if I knew you were going to ask me this. If I knew you were going to bring this up, because there's like washed beans, there's there's honey beans where they actually let the mucilage dry on the bean because it'll soak up more of the
notes
fruit,
the
fruity notes, and so they'll leave it on there longer before they wash it. So there's different ways that they do it. But we don't do any of that. It all happens at the mill in the country. And then it gets bagged up and shipped off.
Wow.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And Bruce and I had the opportunity. We actually went to Costa Rica. I don't know. It's probably been like 5 years now. And Serengeti, the importer here in Dripping Springs, hooked us up with like the top guy at the coffee plant because he knew him personally, and they just spent the whole day with us. They took us out to one of the farms and we met the farmer, and he took us into the groves, and then we went to the mill and we got to walk around, and he took us through every single aspect of them.
Wow.
I mean, they have these huge fields where they just like lay out the coffee and let it dry in the sun.
Yeah.
Some of them,
wow.
and then they've, like they've got like things that take off the mucilage, like these water things that are just, it's like a major
Undertaking.
Yeah.
So we obviously drink Starbucks a lot, and I've always heard.
Bleep.
Yeah, bleep. Sorry. Starbucks, you can sponsor us. But no. So I've always heard that. I don't know the difference because I was probably like when you first started out, like what the hell's the difference between the flavors? But I've heard that in some people's opinions, Starbucks and others burn the hell out of their beans. I mean, how would I? Is it just because the tastes burnt, or is it just personal kind of?
I don't know if it tastes burnt. I think it tastes a little bitter. I personally, I mean, when I was in Seattle, I drank Starbucks all the time.
Yeah,
and didn't think anything of it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with Starbucks. I think ours tastes better.
Yeah.
We roast it on site. It's fresher. It's not, being roasted at some big facility and then shipped out. Theirs is probably not that much, not as fresh, because they go through it. Their volume is huge.
Yeah.
What I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, is because they have to get so much volume to supply all of their coffee shops that they do take their roasts darker to make them all taste the same.
Oh.
That's what I have heard. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. Like if you go to a Starbucks here and a Starbucks there across the nation, they're going to taste the same.
Yep.
And they go for that. They go for consistency, right? And so to do that, they're getting beans, I would think, just from all over the place and having to kind of just blend them in. And
so what should I be tasting for a good coffee? Like, I can't do lattes anymore because I was told I have too much sugar. Yeah. So if I wanted to get into coffee, what should I be tasting for?
I wouldn't drink their drip coffee.
Well, if I want to go to your bar over here. So like, what would I taste for?
Well, here you can drink our drip coffee.
Oh, okay.
Our drip coffee is drinkable here. I personally cannot drink Starbucks drip coffee. I can drink their lattes because it's kind of cut with milk. It kind of cuts down on the acidity and the bitterness. And I would, if I have to go to Starbucks, and you know what? Nothing against Starbucks. My God, they brought the whole industry in here, right?
Don't come after her, Starbucks. Okay, just leave her alone.
Loving Starbucks.
Yeah.
But if I go to Starbucks, I order an Americano.
Okay.
Because that's like the freshest. And they usually use a better bean when it's going through the espresso machine. So that I think I could be making shit up right now, but in their hoppers,
I believe it. So
I think it's true. The espresso that you're getting is going to be of higher quality than the drip coffee. Okay. So always get an Americano if you go there. If you can't have sweet,
I think, yeah, I mean...
Well, don't have syrup in it. You can still have a latte.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I could still do a latte.
Yeah.
Just not have all that crap in it.
Yeah. You can't have all those frickin'... Well, and you know what? If you have all those syrups in your coffee anyway, you're really not tasting much. I mean, it's fine.
I know, but I look cool doing it, though. Like
with all the syrup?
You don't like coffee. You like milk.
Yeah. I mean, that's I tried coffee once, and it was
it's the milk. So you don't have to give up the milk necessarily. Or do you drink milk or do you drink almond?
No, I'm lactose intolerant, so I have to do almond milk and soy milk.
Freaking hate almond. Ugh.
So that is the other thing is, do you guys do soy milk here?
Not anymore.
Okay, and
we do oat.
It curdles? Is that why?
No. We don't do soy anymore because it just dropped off in popularity.
Really?
Yeah. It was like we used to do almond and soy all day long. And then oat came into the picture, and then oat just eclipsed everything. Really? Yeah.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah. So I was just like, we're hardly going through any soy here. I wonder how much we would hurt if we dropped soy. Yeah. And so we dropped soy. Don't order a hot latte with almond milk. I don't know what happens to almond milk.
See, that's what I'm always like, it tastes really more nuttier than I expected. So that's why I went with soy for hot milk.
Yeah,
but
I prefer soy. And I do.
As you said, I took that shit out of my restaurant.
But I'm going to put it back. No, oat milk is amazing.
It's really good.
It's so good. But what I finally realized is I was getting so fat from the oat milk. It's so high in carbs.
Oh, no.
I had no idea. I'm like, wow, I put on 10 pounds this month or whatever. And I'm like, I can't drink oat milk anymore. Ugh. No wonder it tastes so good and I'm not hungry after I have an oat cappuccino.
Yeah. So almond for
cold,
soy
awesome.
for hot. Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, do soy. Not here.
Yeah. Find somewhere else. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I had was, what is the worst, most complicated order that you've gotten, like, as a barista here, if you even do barista?
You know what's funny is that like, I don't think anybody in here, if you were to just come up and go like blah yada yada yada, you know, whatever, they would be more of like, all right, let's do this.
Oh yeah.
Like for them, this is kind of like a challenge. Like we love it when people come in and they're like, I had this drink in Havana, Cuba, and it had this in, and I think they did this and we're like, okay, wow. Did you taste this? I mean, it probably depends on who you get.
Uh-huh.
Like if you got somebody new, they'd probably gonna be like
show you their phone, like, I saw this on TikTok.
Yeah. Can you remake this?
Yeah.
But I mean, literally, we have Slack that we use for communications, and they'll like just. I think yesterday, Ian, one of the guys who works here, posted something on the random channel, and it was just this drink he saw, and they put like this stuff in here, and he's like, I want to try this, and I'm like, oh, it looks good, you know. So for us, it's not so much the complicated things, like we enjoy those. Yeah. Like those are just kind of like, oh, that's kind of fun, whatever. If you want to have eyes roll.
Yeah. What's that one?
The eye roll will be the
I want to see if it's one of ours.
I was just going to say
it'll be like the mocha frappe with you know, like 6 shots in it that's going to melt all the ice and those kind of things. Oh, and can you put the whipped cream in the mixer before you blend it? Then we're a little bit like,
if you're telling me how my process works.
I'd prefer the whipped cream whipped inside the frappe. Those are the ones where they'll kind of be like, okay, but they still should be like, you betcha. Yeah. They'll do it for you.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
So, you know, I think it's like, it's just so interesting. Again, family-owned business, and you still own you and your husband still own 100% of it. No outside people coming in. Was that a conscious effort to make it yours all the way?
Have you met me?
Just today.
I know. I like to be in total control.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah.
fair.
And so having a partner, I thought about it. I just don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And I guess my final question then is, would you ever go back and say, I'm not going to do a coffee shop, I'm going to do something else? Like, do you ever, like, you know, say that to yourself, like, why the hell am I doing a coffee shop?
Every day.
Is there a particular itch to do something else?
Yeah. Or here's a better question.
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself back then? Say yourself, you can do this. Like, get off your ass. What would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now? Like, what would you?
Like, what would I have done instead, knowing what I know now?
Yeah, or to motivate your former self, because you were kind of sitting on the edge, like, I don't know if I should actually leave a job, or should I leave a job? You know, what would be that one thing that you say, just do it? You know. Because if there's like a person sitting out there listening who wants to start their own business, like you did.
Yeah. Let me just say a couple things.
Yeah.
One is, one of the mistakes I made about, like, you know, like, do you ever question like that you went into the coffee business?
Yeah.
People romanticize, and I did, romanticized the coffee shop business. You know, I was thinking, I'm going to sit on my laptop in a cafe table, and I'm going to do my ordering, and I'm going to have a little cappuccino, and I'm going to monitor my staff and run my business.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have to get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Oof.
Okay. So that's what I thought. It never occurred to me. Never. I don't know why it never occurred to me that I was going to have to get up at 5:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I am not a morning person.
Amen.
So why I thought this was going to be like my dream, I'm not sure. So first of all, make sure that whatever business you're contemplating, it matches your passions. Because I'm like, I love coffee. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
That's not the business. The business is about connecting community. This business is not really about coffee. This business is really about creating a community gathering place, connecting with your community, making people feel welcome here. Like that's really what over the years I've figured out. This is, I could probably serve terrible coffee. And if I still had my staff who are just like, hey, hi, welcome in, friendly, da 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 da. I don't, it would matter, but it wouldn't matter that much. Yeah. People just want to get away. Oh my God, is that the song? Someplace, na 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 na, na everybody knows your name.
Cheers. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the business.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love the community. I love seeing the regulars. So that piece of it I liked and I still enjoy. The staffing issues, especially through COVID, were very difficult. So you just make sure that you like go in eyes wide open in terms of everything that's going to be demanded of you. Cause I don't want you to think like, oh my God, I made a terrible mistake and I'm just living in this hell for 10 years. No. Right.
I don't think
I mean, my background in terms of like my staff will tell you like Vicky's all about like her checklists and da 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 da. And everybody knows their job. Nobody gets like thrown into something and go, good luck. Like that's not how this business runs. Yeah. We're very, like this is how we do things. Let me watch you do it. No, you're not doing it right. This is how you do it. You got it. Like it's very organized. Yeah. So that's the first part of it. Like make sure no matter what business you're going to go into that you really understand what it's going to take. I did not. And so it took me a long time to kind of get my head above water and into a business that I enjoyed running. It took a while. And what would I tell somebody in terms of like getting off? I don't know. I mean, I think people go through their entire life and they just don't, right? Because I see people spin all the time on, well, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. You know what I could do? You know what I could do? Yeah. And I did that for probably 2 decades, knowing that I wanted to start my own business and never like committing to something. But there's like, you could literally do anything. You just have to pick something and commit to it. And I think the thing that finally put me over the edge, because it's so much easier just to keep doing the same thing, right? And collecting the money and having the benefits. I mean, I gave up a lot, was that my brother died very unexpectedly. And I thought, shit, I mean, he's dead. And he was like working, never retired, that kind of stuff. And I thought I would rather try and fail than never try. And that was, I mean, that's what it took for me. Wow. I mean, I'm that, and not having a spouse who's like, I don't think you should. Doesn't help. Right? You really have to be like at the very edge. Yeah. And if you have a supportive spouse, you're lucky. Yeah. Because that's not always the case. And if you have a second income to rely on, could be good, could be bad. I mean, because I think there were times where I, might have folded. There's a, I can't remember who he is. He's like a European, somebody who came to like conquer the United States. Not a great thing, but at the time, like the New World, right? Oh, okay. And he landed, I can't think, Cortez maybe? He lands on the beach, on the shore, and then he instructs,
burn the boats. Yeah.
He instructs his crew to burn the ships. We're not going back. Yeah. We're either going to succeed or we're going to die here.
That's right.
And that was me. There was no backup plan. Yeah. And I don't know if that's, I think if I'd had a backup plan, I probably would have taken my backup plan. Yeah. And so I don't know. I don't want to say like, don't have.
No, I think I totally agree.
And that's the second time we've heard that is there is no plan B.
Yeah. Cause I mean, like that's what I was so nervous about starting my own thing was, can we do this? And he was just like, do it. And my dad, who ran a medical practice for 30 years, was like, just burn the boats. You got to burn the boats, because if you know they're there, you're going to jump back in them. So,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Well, this has been one of the most fun interviews that we've had so far, because you're so freaking fun to talk with.
Do you have to bleep things out?
No,
probably might add some things.
Yeah,
just add some more swear words.
So ask your final question, Charles.
This is and I'm excited because you said that you love education.
Okay,
so if you were to design a Tell Me About It episode, what would you want to know more about? Like a career field, a hobby, anything.
I'm really interested in architecture.
We literally just talked to an architect yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Yes. She owns, in Wimberley, they own a haberdashery, her and her partner, Keith. Yeah. And so she's an architect. So that's really interesting.
Kidding.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Her answer to this question was hemp-based homes that someone's building out in Wimberley.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
So I've heard of I do the hob, where they do like corn hob and clay and all of that. So hemp's like probably in that same
Yeah. So an
genre.
Architect, what would you want to know from an architect?
Well, I feel like I'm so old. But when you asked me like 10 years ago, like if I had done something different, I probably would have gone to architecture school.
Oh.
Just because I'm so like not happy with like the plans that are out there are just like shit, right?
Well, maybe you could do that next.
Maybe.
Give this to your daughter. Say, hey, look, you're going to run.
She doesn't want it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've asked.
Give it to Bruce. Be like, hey, you're doing this now, and I'm going to go to architect school.
Else.
Okay.
I just feel like the architects don't get it. Like they just don't get it. Like what people really want.
Oh.
It's just so like
it's changed.
Copy paste.
Oh yeah, no.
It's like everything looks the same, and
the one the Kristen yesterday she wants to build this. She's building the space. She bought a new property for it, but it's a new office concept. But she was going to switch it in and out like every so often. Like it wasn't going to be just an office. It would be like an Airbnb at one point, or she would design something where it's more of a like studio
co-working
space.
Yeah.
So. Okay, that's cool.
I think with architecture, it's like you can either buy these cheesy plans that aren't that great, or you can spend $50,000-$60,000. It's like, why isn't there an in between?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. No.
And I want to be like, how do you find the in between?
Yeah. I don't know. You should figure it out. Start. Do it now. Burn the boats on. No, I'm kidding.
Burn the boats. Burn the shop down. Take the insurance money.
Take the insurance money.
We'll
delete this part, right?
Well, it was so great chatting with you, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day.
My pleasure. This was
fun. To join us. So,
and please plug your coffee shop.
Plug your coffee shop.
Mazama Coffee Company. We're located downtown in historic Dripping Springs at 301 West Mercer Street.
When Instagram, do you have any socials that we need to follow?
Mazama Coffee.
Okay, and website is
Facebook, mazamacoffee.com.
There we go.
Perfect. Guys,
come here if you can. If you're ever in Dripping, I will attest. I have come here to work. It's very nice to work here. It's a better experience, I will say.
But do not take calls in here if you're loud.
Do not take your phone calls in here.
Do it.
So rude.
All righty. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Favorite interview so far?
Yeah, Vicky. Vicky, you're a boss.
And Vicky, she's just fun.
Yeah.
Like we sat in that area, and she just like no hesitation, just gave us the 411 straight attitude. Love it.
Yeah.
Just love her.
Yeah, did not hold back. I love the idea that she's not in it for like the money. I mean, I'm sure it helps, but she's really made an emphasis on the business was about getting involved in the community.
Yeah.
And just the story of Mazama, it all coming together, so cool.
And I think we turned off the mics too early because we asked her how she fared during the pandemic. And I asked her, I was like, hey, did you have to close your doors down? She goes, we almost did, but we put on our Facebook that was going to happen. And she had the entire Dripping Springs area buy gift cards and kept her open during that time. And so,
and even she also brought up like that they made cookies with like little hand cookies that said "wash your hands" or "wash your hands."
Yeah. So it's awesome. I'm glad that she's here. Glad that Mazama Coffee is a nice little stopover for people.
Yeah.
So if you're in Dripping or in anywhere,
passing through and need a coffee because Starbucks is always closed.
Yeah. I bet you though. I wonder if she ships her beans.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, on the website.
Yeah.
Mazamacoffee.com.
Yeah. So Vicky, thanks so much, and Bruce, thank you for letting us borrow your wife there for about an hour or so.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
You got a good one.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's all we've got today. So thank you so much. And remember to please like us on our Facebook and social and
leave us a review.
You know
follow
why?
Us on Insta.
Because it gets us to #1.
And we are almost there in our own minds.
All right, guys, thanks so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.